Hello, web services developers, .NET developers, and .NET architects from all over the world. And hello to all web services wonks too. My name is 𝘍𝙬𝙬𝘬, and I'm a Microsoft Regional Director for Germany. I'm also the co-founder of ThinkTecture, and today I want to show you something that a lot of people are talking about, a lot of people want to do, and actually not enough people actually do it at the end of the day. What I want to talk about is called contract-first web services design and development. So, what is it all about? Today we are building web services primarily on the .NET platform by choosing File, New Project, and actually selecting a web service project template in order to start up a wizard that generates code for us. Then we are supposed to go to this class file, to the methods, to write our object, to write our methods, to apply some web method attributes to those methods, and everything should be fine. The ASMX runtime for the .NET Platform's web services feature actually goes then over those, code files and code classes to reflect on them and generate WSDL and XML schema files out of it. This is how we do it today, and this is how we are supposed to do it based on the tools we have. But there is a problem with it. Maybe if you are controlling both sides of the wire, that means you have a service and a client that you are actually developing, or that you have both sides based on the .NET platform and the .NET framework, everything might be fine. But we are doing a lot of projects out in the field, and we have experienced major problems when there are several, incompatible SOAP stacks out there, like on the Java platform, like on the mainframe or host system, and on the .NET framework. So there is a different approach to designing and implementing web services, which is called the contract-first approach, opposed to the code-first approach. This means that we actually have to think first about the service interface, we have to model it, and then we have to implement it. You can do this in code, absolutely no problem. There are a number of XML element attributes, XML type attributes, XML I don't know what attributes. You can use them and apply it on your code, but maybe sometimes it's actually better to just turn around, forget about .NET, forget about Java, forget about everything you have seen before, and just think about what is essential for web services, the message. Therefore, maybe sometimes, I do not say that it's always good and always a perfect approach, but sometimes you should just actually turn around and start with Microsoft Visual Studio, for example, or XML Spy from Altova in order to model first your data and your messages. And this is exactly what we are seeing here on this slide. We have several phases for a schema-based contract-first approach, which first means that we have to model our data. We have to think about the data construct and about the data structures. Then we will model the messages, which actually carry those data structures. After that, we need some tooling or some wizards to finally being able to use the data and the message and put it into a service interface. And then, as a final step for code generation, we actually take this metadata, the WSDL file, and the XML schema files, the XSD, to actually send them and distribute them to the developers of the service, of the client, of the Java client, of the VB6 client, I don't know, to actually get code generated from those interoperable XML-based artifacts. This is the whole story. Now, how can we do it today? We have some tools in the .NET framework called XSD.exe to generate code from an XSD into C# or VB.NET, and we have tools like WSDL.exe to generate C# code or VB code for proxy classes and even for server-side implementations from a WSDL. But how do we get at the WSDL? The WSDL specification is crap. There are a lot of things that you really do not need, and so it would be nice to have a tool, to have a wizard-based approach maybe, or even in a future version to have a domain-specific language that actually enables you to model your data and message contract. In the meantime, we have built a freely available tool, which is a plugin for Visual Studio. And I will show you now how you could actually implement this data and message-based contract-first approach with Visual Studio today. Let me just switch to my demo machine. And here we can see that I have 3 projects. One project for modeling the contract metadata, one project for actually implementing the client, and one project for actually implementing the service itself. As we can see, the service project is completely empty. It's an empty web project. The client-side project is just a Windows Forms project, and I already have added some forms that will make our life a little bit easier. Okay, so let's first check out the actual contract metadata. So the contract metadata is based on XML schema. This is not really necessary in the future, but currently we just have XSD and we do not have some DSL-based approach on top of XSD, so therefore we may have to feel the pain by using XSD. So we have some data. Let's switch to the graphical view. We have a scenario where I try to implement a service, a web service, based on a service interface description for a user group. So this user group may be the .NET user group for Orlando. We have several data structures, just like a user group member, just like a .NET experience, which is an enumeration that actually tells the user group owner which level of skill the current user group member might have. And we have a user group member list and a user group meeting data structure. So these are the data artifacts we are trying to deal with. Based on this data, we are building and modeling our messages. So we need a message in order to send it to the service to register a member. We send a message to get all members, to get a members list from the service, and we have a message to get the actual list back. So we are modeling several available messages in this XSD, and this XSD in turn imports, reuses the previously built XSD, which encapsulates the data. So we have the user data and the user messages now. Now the easy step. The easy step was actually building the data and the messages. Now we have to somehow get our hands on the WSDL file. And there we can just right-click on the message.xsd file and we get a menu entry that says create WSDL interface description. This shows up a wizard, because we are in the Microsoft world, we need wizards. Without wizards, nothing works, you know. So we take this wizard. The wizard is actually trying to collect some important metadata about the service, like the service name. We call it user group Orlando. It wants an XML namespace, just like URM, ThinkTexture, com, demos, user group, v1. And a documentation, and the documentation obviously has to be done. So then it asks for the actual input into the wizards. We could add some additional XSD files here, but we are fine with those. And then we are trying to specify the operations in this interface contract, and we have a checkbox infer operations, so that the wizard can take a look at the messages that are defined in the XSD, and from there it tries, based on some string pattern matching, to actually, well, infer the operation names. We have one problem. We have to rename this one to register member, and now we have 3 operations: get member data, request response, get all members, request response, and register member, which is a one-way operation only. We say next, 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 finish, because it's a wizard. Yeah, we have to do a lot of clicks, and then everything should hopefully work. What is the result is we have a WSDL file inside of our project now, and this WSDL file actually conforms to the WSI, the Web Services Interoperability Organization basic profile. So this is a highly interoperable WSDL file that gets generated, which is even a bit more compatible than the original WSDL file that would have been generated on the ASMX file by just adding WSDL with a question mark parameter. So when we are done now, we actually could use those metadata and we could distribute it to the client and to the service. And the second part of this tool would now enable the developers to actually right-click on this metadata and to generate code from this metadata, from the WSDL and from the XSD. But that's the second part of the story. I just wanted to show you in this quick video how you actually could do a contract first based design